We had a lot of stuff going on, and the community really enjoyed it, and we've been getting nothing but great feedback. So thank you guys for doing that and being partners with us in that, and I think it's a great thing. So I want to continue to build on those partnerships and continue to grow those events and just different things like that. So, but just wanted to let you guys know, starting in this month, at the end of this month, we will be doing some business workshops once a month, free to all the businesses or groups that want to come. It's on our website. Registration is completely free, so they can go in there. It's always going to be the last Wednesday of the month from 5:30 to 7:30. They can sign up. We're kind of focusing on starting your business. I think it's always good to go back to basics and kind of revamp and look at how businesses are ran, just new things that are coming out. So that's been one of the things we've been told in talking to business owners, that kind of going back to square one and kind of rebuilding to see what they can do to help improve what they're already doing. So that's what we'll be offering this fall. That'll be August, September, October, and November, and then obviously December gets really crazy, and so we just don't want to do anything in that month so people can be with families. This Saturday, we have our Runway Revelry fly-in event at the airport, so we're excited about that. All the hangars will be open. The community can come out. There'll be a free pancake feed that morning, and then we'll have some vendors at lunchtime, and we'll also be celebrating the 50th anniversary for Butterfly Aviation. So if you guys are able to come out, please do. There will be activities. We'll have all of our the police department, fire department, sheriff's department, EMS, Eagle Med all out there, so the community can interact with them. There'll be some displays and stuff and planes that they can check out and take pictures. So I think it'll be really cool. Next, we have at the end of September 23rd and 24th, we have our annual Flatlanders Fall Festival event going on. So we are moving it to a Friday, Saturday event with everyone coming into town. We want to give our guests that are in town something to do and keep them here local. So we want to have, we'll be moving that concert in the park that Friday, and then the festival will be on Saturday. So keeping Sunday open so people can rest and we can just all recover from that weekend. Then we move into the downtown holiday event, Christmas event. So that will be happening November 26th, December 3rd, and December 10th. We're going to do 3 weekends this year. The times will be a little adjusted. One thing we got from last year was with Main Street all decorated with lights and stuff, they thought it would be cool to have some activities at night where everything's lit up. So we're going to pick one of those evenings or one of those days to do an evening event for 2 hours, and that'll be that event weekend. But we have some new things we're bringing this year, so we hope that we can attract people from other communities to come over and bring something new to the community here. We are also going to be having the Parade of Lights this year, but we will be doing it on Black Friday. So we want that to be our kickoff to the season. I know that some people are like, wait, I'll be out of town, I'll be doing this, but we didn't want to have Santa show up and then have Santa too early. So we wanted to make sure that we are in his books on the right time because he's a busy man. So, Yep. So that's kind of what we got going on for the fall. So I just wanted to give you guys that update, and I'll be back up later. So any questions?
No questions. I'm just glad to see more and more things coming up. You know, we had a lot of stuff going on over the summer this year, and I think it all went over very well. I know I enjoyed all the different things we had going on this summer. So thank you for all that you're doing. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to presentations and proclamations, of which we have none. Move on to the consent agenda. We have A, 8/1/22 Commission meeting minutes, and B, appropriation ordinances 2022-16, 2022-16A, and 2022-P16. Anybody have any questions or comments on those?
Move that we approve consent agenda items A and B.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, we'll move on to formal actions. A, termination of lease for MK&T Consultants LLC regarding the Hangar Cafe. Kent, if you want to lead us into that one.
In your packets is a copy of the lease termination agreement to occupy and operate the restaurant located inside the terminal building at Goodland Municipal Airport. Lease was an annual lease. However, and Terry is here tonight. He may want to speak to it. He has requested termination of it. He is selling the equipment to a new entity, Bricks by Maria LLC, who already operate a restaurant in town, obviously, down at 1530 Main, I believe it is. And they intend to operate a cafe in that space. So it's basically just changing one set of operators for another. This is the termination of the lease portion of the program. So, Terry, do you have anything else you want to say to this?
I got for the last few months by operating the Hangar Cafe, and sorry I had to bail out, but and health concerns and just kind of overwhelmed me, so I'm going to relinquish my ownership to Maria, and who already knows how to run a restaurant better than I do. So that's really all I have, but thank you again.
For your efforts.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments or concerns regarding the termination of the lease?
Move that we accept the termination of the lease agreement with MK&T Consultants, DBA Hangar Cafe.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Showalter and a second by Commissioner Howard. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard.
Yes.
Redmond.
Yes.
Myers. Showalter.
Yes.
Wilson.
Yes. We'll move on to B, the new lease for the Hangar Cafe. Kent?
And this is the standard lease for the restaurant in the terminal building. Terry is here, but also Maria and Renee are here as well. And Paul, sorry, Paul. Spoke to you on the phone. I don't recognize the face. Sorry, Paul. And they would like to enter into a lease with the city of Goodland in order to manage and operate the restaurant in the terminal building. So, Paul, did you want to say anything else?
Not really. Terry's already talked to us about everything.
But you came 6.5 hours. I'm sure there's a couple of comments.
Too hot, too many flies. No, but I do appreciate you guys giving us this opportunity.
Okay. And Mayor, if Renee would like to say something as well, I don't know if she does or not.
They said the same thing. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and they'll do their best to keep it going. So I'm also the translator.
Okay. I do have a couple questions, if I could.
Yes, sir. And son-in-law.
So the expectation is both restaurants are going to stay open?
Yes, sir.
Is there going to be different people running both restaurants, or are they going to be going
Most
back and
likely,
forth?
one, either Maria or Renee will be at the Bricks, and then Maria or Renee, and the other will be over at the Hangar. We'll be going through hiring processes this week, hiring people, bringing some people back, I guess, and, just going through the hiring process. We want to have it open before the 20th, but foreseeing that at the moment, I don't want to say no, but, because there's no help at the moment. I might have an employee, you never know. Sorry, I know, I shouldn't say that, I'm sorry. But I do know that that's how it's going to be. One's going to be at one location, one's going to be at the other. And vice versa. If one's over here, one's going to be over there. But one will be at each place.
And we know what kind of hours we're expecting to have at the cafe?
We were talking, 6 de la mañana, ¿verdad? 6 de la mañana, abrir. Sí, okay. And entrada a las 5, ¿verdad? 7 in the morning to 5 at night.
Like Monday through Friday?
Todo, ¿verdad? Todo día. ¿Qué día es cerrado? And closed on Mondays.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I was just curious as to what the plan was.
Sorry, I'm having
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Anybody else have any other questions?
the lease agreement with Bricks by Maria.
Have a motion by Commissioner Showalter,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Yes.
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 Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. I hope to see you guys on the 1st.
We'll be there.
Well, the 20th, I won't be here.
Okay, let's move on to item C, the Main Street Sound System, an SCCD request. Shirley Hill, welcome back up.
All right. So this is kind of the venture I've been going on, and just as I visit different communities and have seen, living in cities and just other things that we've visited, that it really brings an ambiance to a community, and where our Main Street is kind of our neighborhood, our downtown, the heart of our community. I think it'd be really an asset to our community to add some music, especially where we're trying to utilize what a great Main Street that we have. And so I approached Kent and Josh a few months ago just saying, have we ever thought about doing a sound system on Main Street where there's music playing? Of course, there'll be time parameters, and all those things, and making sure that the music's edited and everything is clean. And they had told me about some stuff they had looked into, and so I said, well, do you mind if I dig a little deeper? Because I think this would really enhance some of the things we're trying to do, and where we already have great activity down there with not only just events, but parades and stuff. I think it would enhance that experience for people. So what, in your packet, I know Kent put in here just kind of a description of what's they're looking at doing. It originally was going to be the 13th to 9th Street block. But after talking to a few other businesses and people on Main Street, they've asked if we would be able to extend that, if we would open up the idea of extending all of Main Street, because some businesses felt like those are the 3 blocks we focus on, and they don't get the same opportunity farther down the block either way. And I said, well, I'm open to that. I just didn't know if it would be something that you as a business would want, because it doesn't kind of fit that. And they said, no, we would love that. And so I'd like to open that up to go from 8th Street to 17th Street on Main Street for this sound system. With that being said, SCCD will cover that cost. The company that we're working with is McClellan out of Dodge City, and they've provided us a quote. They do have to get me an updated quote because I did add on some blocks to that. But they do the installation and everything. That also comes with a licensing that we pay on a monthly or annual basis that we will cover that cost as well. But the nice thing about with this sound system is what we're looking at doing is not the one speaker at one end and it gets louder as you get closer and it gets quieter as you go away. It's evenly distributed amongst the Main Street. And what we're looking to do is have zones, so each block will be a zone. So at any time, if there's something going on or we don't want music playing in that area, we can shut that zone off and just have it in a specific area. It will also have a PA system, so especially where we're doing these events and stuff, we'll be able to make announcements over that PA system. Heaven forbid in Flatlanders or something that we have going on, Jimmy gets lost, he comes to the info booth and we can say, so-and-so, Jimmy is at the info booth, can you come get him? Or if there's a weather emergency or something that's going on, we're able to clear that event or that space for that event. So that's something as well. The nice thing about this is the system they operate off of is something like sound something. I didn't write that down because you had to get that to me. But what it is, it's pretty much like Spotify, and it covers all our licensing, everything like that. And the main unit will be held in our new building that we're going to move my main office to, so we have a presence on Main Street, which will be 1312 Main. The old admin building is where I'll be moving my office to. We will keep the Welcome Center open, but we want to make that more of a welcome center and not where everyone's doing their business, and we can actually invite people into the community and it's more interactive. So that's where that will be held, and we can actually create playlists that we want. We can, if there's a specific event, say like when Goodland Tech did their block party, if they didn't have a band or they had a downtime, they could say this is the type of music we want. We could build a playlist off of that. It would all be covered in that, and then we'd be able to build that and play that just on that block. So that's kind of how the system works. The company would install it, and the way I did talk with Dustin on it, and he came to the meeting. It's not anything too intensive. It's just a 12-volt wire and weatherproof. It's wrapped in a weatherproof tube, and there's also the speakers and everything. The equipment is weatherproof, and it would just be installed on the light poles and wouldn't add any extra like I guess, other than the speakers themselves, any extra wire up there, we could just attach it to what's already up there for the lighting for the Main Street and lights at Christmas time and whatnot. So we're hoping to put in a grant application to Dane G. Hansen for the beautification and community improvement grant, and so that'll cover some of that cost, and then we'll cover the rest of that cost. But I think it's something that, I don't know if you guys have been to Phillipsburg, but Jennifer House said she goes there a lot, and when she's there, it just kind of changes the whole atmosphere of when you're strolling downtown shopping, and it makes you want to be down there, or if you're sitting at one of our restaurants outside, you know, you have that music, and if they're playing their own music, we can shut that block off, and it doesn't interrupt what they're doing. So so I come to you tonight because I would like your guys' permission and support to be able to install that on our Main Street, to add that as an asset to our community.
So just to clarify, we're looking basically at playing music kind of all the time during business hours. Is that
Yes.
kind of what we're looking at? But then also have the ability to do extra during other activities that are happening.
Yeah, and we can, the time frame, we can work on studying what that looks like. We can talk with businesses, you know, what time or what you guys want to set on a sound time frame like that. If we want to shut it down at 7 o'clock because, you know, other things going on, or we just want it to be from a certain time frame, that all can be inputted in the system. And it'll automatically start and stop, so.
Anybody else have any other questions?
I'm just curious, what's the total cost, or do you have that number?
I don't have the updated cost. It's around 25,000 to install it, but that's because of the weatherization on that, and that's why we're going for a grant and wanting to cover most of it in that grant and have matching funds for that.
What's the annual fee?
Annual fee would be, it's just the $35 a month for the licensing. So that would be a cost on us that we would cover. So 35 times 12, oh, you're going to make me do math over the, okay. I was like, please don't make me do math. I have all the numbers, but he didn't get me the updated quote because we added on that block just the other day. And so he's working on that because after talking to a few of the businesses, they're like, it'd be really nice if we could get it down by us because we always kind of feel like we don't get that same support. And so I said, if I can get the approval, I'm more than happy because I think we need to improve our entire Main Street, not just one section of it.
I agree.
And then who's responsible for the maintenance on it?
That would be our group. So McClellan will come out twice a year to check on it. They have a technician that's assigned to our area, and they're actually out here a lot. They have Hoxie, Atwood, Colby that they service already. They have a different system. They have it where it's the one speaker in some of the places, and it just shoots kind of down the way. I wanted it to be, if we're going to do it, quality over, you know, just having the sound there and make it so that it's balanced, because that can kind of throw you off. And so I want it to be a good product that we're putting out. So they would be out here twice a year to service that.
I mean, I do agree that when you're in a shopping area where there is some music playing, it definitely adds to the experience and the ambiance of your experience while you're out shopping. I mean, I think it's a great idea. I'm all for it personally, so. I would make a motion to approve the SCCD request regarding the Main Street sound system.
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Walter.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Myers.
Yes.
Ragland,
Oh, yes.
Thompson.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Shalisa.
Okay, we'll move on to D, RFP audit services for fiscal year 2022 through 2024. Kent?
And I will defer to the city clerk, Mary, unless she tells me that I can just handle it and take care of it.
It doesn't matter to me. Our contract was up with our auditors, and we rebid them every 2 to 3 years. I sent out requests to 5 certified CPAs, and I received 2, and the low bid is Agler and Gabbard from Ottawa by quite a bit. So I would recommend you approve their contract. We will need a single audit for this year, so it will be the $2,000 add.
Okay,
The single audit is required when you exceed a certain amount in grant funds. So then there's a specific audit that just audits the receipts and expenditures within that grant or within the group of grants. When you receive more than, I think it's 750,000, then the single audit is required. So that's an additional work that's done by the auditor.
And this will enter into for 3 years, 22, 23, and 24.
Well, I feel like they've done a very good job the last couple of years that I've been involved with their audits, so I don't have any issues with continuing our services with them. Anybody else have any other comments or concerns?
Motion that we accept the RFP from Agler and Gaddard for auditing services.
A motion by Commissioner Showalter,
I'll second.
second by Commissioner Redland. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Redland,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Showalter,
Yes.
Meyer, Thompson.
Yes. Okay, and then we'll move on to E, Resolution 1593 regarding the unfit structure at 1523 Colorado. Have Jeff come up to talk to us about that.
Good evening. I do believe they sent you in the packet kind of a timeline of what we've been doing. Kind of started back in May, had a minor complaint, went over and looked at the structures, found few different things, did a little more research. Back on June 6th, presented it to you guys, kind of asking for a time frame for the gentleman to get the property up to code and, get utilities and sanitation stuff to the properties and get it all cleaned up. On July 5th, we gave the homeowner, Mr. Ball, 30 days, which would have been June 1st, I do believe, but we missed that meeting, didn't get it on there, so I notified Mr. Ball personally that he wasn't on it, and we tried
August 1st.
August 1st, and try to get it on, the next commission meeting. And of course, today's the day. I went by and took some pictures. You guys have seen the past pictures, and went out this morning, took some current photos, so you can kind of see what the progress he's made and, where he's at. Still no utilities or anything to the structures, but he has gotten, quite a bit of the trash from between the trailers, picked up and moved out, so. And Mr. Ball is here. Mr. Bowl is here, so if you have any questions before we continue, let him kind of describe what he's doing, what his plans are, and so forth. So,
That would be great if you wanted to come up and introduce yourself and just kind of.
Hi, I'm Mr. Bull. I'm doing my best to get the place cleaned up. I've had massive problems with thieves and vandals back there. It's a lot more work than it seems because I've had to clean out the old buildings so I could, because a lot of the stuff that was laying around was materials to fix the places up, and I'm trying to get those organized inside and stuff. I got laid up for I made steady progress the last month, and then I got laid up from massive, like 3 really, really nasty spider bites I had from cleaning out the old buildings, and they made me pretty sick, so I haven't gotten anything done in the last week. But I think, honestly, about 3 solid good days of working, and I can get the rest of the outside taken care of. As for fixing up the trailers, the one trailer that has skirting and stuff, it's not in real bad shape. I just need to get 2 spots on the roof fixed up and get the utilities back to it, which is a problem because I haven't worked since my restaurant was put out of business by COVID. I am very much looking for work. So I am doing all of this work myself, and it really was a massive, massive job. No one did anything to this property for 19 years after my grandfather died, except pile trash in the buildings and fill it up with stuff that I've had to tear out of there, which, like, it was about 5 tons, and that's not even stretching it at all. It was scrap metal in the garage, and every tree in the yard was dead. I've cut those down in the last 2 years and got those all hauled out of there. And like I said, I'm doing the work myself and at the same time doing side jobs to survive. And I really just need a little more time.
Can I ask? I will say that looking at the previous pictures and looking at these new pictures, we can tell that you have put a lot of work into cleaning a lot of stuff up, and I do appreciate that. I guess I'm curious as to what is your ultimate goal regarding both of the properties there?
Well, I originally planned on fixing up both the trailers, but to be honest with you, I think that the one on the right side up there, I think that's a little bit, I think it's going to prove to be, unless I can get somebody with more skills than I have, I think it's going to prove to be a little bit too much work to be able to revive it. The other one, like I said, is not in bad shape at all. It's my dad's trailer, and he lived in it until he passed away a few years ago. And he maintained it, and I've done my best to maintain it, and it really doesn't need that much work. I really would like to, what I've considered is moving into the trailer and renting out the house at the front of the property, you know, since I don't have any income at all, and my life is a wreck, and after my restaurant went down, I owe the IRS $100,000. I have no income. I really wanted to fix them up and have rental properties, but like I said, I don't know if that's within my abilities with that other trailer. It's really had some issues. There's a ceiling falling in at one point. The walls are deteriorating. I just don't even think it's probably savable. But I really would like a chance to get somebody more knowledgeable to look at it. I actually have somebody in mind that has kind of made a living, if I can get them to come look at it. They've kind of made a living fixing up old properties and stuff. My life has been restaurant work, so this isn't really my area of expertise.
Different skill set.
Yeah. I really have done my best, though, to pick things up. I kind of fall at your mercy to give me more time to finish it.
What kind of time frame do you think you might need?
To complete everything with the good trailer and the outside stuff, considering my finances, because to get water to it, I have to lay water lines, because 3 times I've had to dig down and cut off the water lines as they deteriorated. I do have the water lines to put to it, but I don't have the finances to pay for a new, because ultimately it needs its own water meter. It was a trailer park owned by my grandparents, and they had the water just running off of their house. But I figure the properties will be sold separately, and it's 4 different lots. I ultimately need to get their own water meter, at least to the one trailer that I'm intending on keeping. But I was told that's $1,500 to $3,000, and I certainly don't have anything like that. I don't know if payments could be worked out of some kind, but I don't even have a job at all. I have tried to get a job, but that's a long story in itself. Like I said, I really would like, a chance to apply and maybe get a job with you guys. If you really are going to need help, I really have the experience. I owned my own restaurant in Oakley for 5 years, so, but COVID put an end to that. I really would think probably I should be able to have the physical stuff done by the end of the month, but to get the utilities and stuff, get a new water meter like I'd like to, like I said, I got to work out something for that. either payments or something like that once I get a job. I don't know. Whatever they could possibly work with me on. I could run water back from the house. I should have enough water line to do that, but I really would rather not if I can work something else out.
Well, I think that, in order for it to be established as its own, residence with its own address, it will have to have its own utilities separate
Well,
from the
that's what I'd like
utilities
to do.
coming off your house. But,
'Cause, yeah, my grandparents had the whole trailer park running off their house, and boy, that sure sucks on water pressure.
yeah, I bet so. I mean, like I said, I appreciate the work you've done. And like I said, you can tell you've done a lot of work. Yeah,
I wish I could get help. Several people have promised that I've helped in various ways, and you know how that goes. They just,
Yeah, it can be tough to get people to come and help you out at times.
yeah.
I know. I mean, I know I am personally willing to continue to give you a little more time, I think, especially if you think you can get it all the stuff cleaned up in the next month,
I can definitely have
And
the
then
outside
maybe-
taken care of.
be working towards a game plan to get in utilities towards at least the one house. Would you be, so you say you're not sure that the other house might be too much work for you?
Like I said, I really would like to have somebody more knowledgeable come look at it. And like I said, I have a friend in Colby who's a friend of my parents. I would like to have him come look at it if possible and see if maybe they could help me. Because I would need some materials and a little more knowledge than I have. Like the ceiling would have to be reconstructed on one end. And I believe part of the trailer is starting to sink on one side. I think that whole thing would have to be reinforced and raised probably. And, ultimately, originally, I just planned on keeping it for storage and, just fixing up the outside, but I also, it's just kind of, unless I can get it completely fixed up and making me money, I really might as well get it taken out of there. But I don't even know if that'll cost, I'm sure that'll cost me something too, so.
Yeah. Well, I don't, so I'm speaking for myself. These guys haven't had a chance to speak yet. I know I would be open personally to maybe revisiting again in a month,
Okay,
if you would come back.
I would really
Like our
appreciate
second
that.
meeting of next month and report back and see if we've had a chance to get everything cleaned up and had a chance to have somebody come over and kind of give you an estimate of what you think it's going to cost, and let's see where we are regarding getting some utilities hooked up, and then maybe we can reassess at that point. So I do,
Okay.
you're obviously making an effort, and that is appreciated, and
Thank you.
we want to try to keep working with you as much as we can. And as long as you're showing progress and making progress towards your end goal, I hope we can continue to work with you. But, at some point, there has to be,
Yes,
it has to be
I do
completed,
appreciate the
so.
consideration and the leeway, I do.
What do you guys think?
It's been an overall rough couple years for me, and a lot of it is just moving on after losing so much. I'm trying to figure out what the hell I wanted to do, so I pretty much know what I want to do now. I just got to get it done. Yeah, thank you.
Well, my thought, showing up makes a good statement that you're willing to work and do something. Cleaning up the lot will establish a lot more. Like the mayor said, in a month we can revisit it and we can go from there. As progress goes, we can.
Well, I can
We
pretty
can
much
look on
guarantee
that,
in a
you know.
month that nothing will be laying around anymore. I'll have all that taken care of. As for the insides and the repairs, like I said, that other one is just a lot. So I'm putting that at the end when I get everything else taken care of, and we'll see what I can do with that one.
And that one, in my opinion, is probably gonna be a money pit. You're probably better off just to get rid of it,
That's kind of what I was thinking.
because more than likely you'll never get your money back out of it.
Yeah. Alrighty, I will definitely keep that in mind, and we'll see where I go. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so what do you guys think? We currently have a resolution sitting on the table here to set a date for a hearing of the 17th of October regarding the property. So we can either move forward with that resolution currently and set that hearing for a couple months. We can wait and give them another month and see how things look. And then if we want to set a hearing at that point, we could do that. I don't know, Jeff, if you have more to say regarding the property before we make any final decisions on anything.
No, that sounds good. Give him, another 30 day and revisit with him and take some more photos for you guys and see where he's at. See if we can't get one of the trailers or what, see where he wants to go with it. Sounds good.
Just a reminder for the commission, and it's not necessarily just regarding this case, but as we go through a number of these cases regarding certain properties, anytime you set a resolution, it basically takes 2 months from the time you set the hearing until the hearing can take place, according to statutory requirements. And all it's doing is setting a hearing. It's really not taking any action by the city. It's just setting a hearing. And then the commission decides at the end of the hearing what action to take. It's fine to delay that, but understand in a month, if we would have a resolution at that time, then the hearing would take 2 months from that time in November. So just to give you an idea regarding the time frame that occurs.
Can we move forward with the resolution to set it for hearing, but set the hearing date for in November, so that way we have something on the books to say that,
Yeah, you can change the date of the hearing. That's just the time that's set, that was written in the resolution. We can revise the resolution and have it at the second meeting in November. And then if something occurs, you can also state publicly that we cancel the hearing. And I don't know if that requires, I would have to ask Jake. I didn't have a chance to ask him. And we don't have a chance tonight to ask the city attorney. If that would require another resolution to cancel that first resolution, if you see progress enough being made, and then just saying, we're working towards it, any of those situations. So.
I'm fine with whatever way the council or the commission decides to move. I think it's been my experience that, if you don't have a firm date set, that sometimes it's harder to get, even to get your help to come help you if you don't say, I have this hearing date, and if I don't get something done, it's not going to happen. So my preference would be we set the hearing date for in November. If we need to make a motion later on because we've seen enough to make sure that it's not a dangerous or unfit structure, then we can cancel that hearing. But my preference would be that we would have a date on the books for a hearing.
And at the worst case scenario, if you set the hearing, you end up having to have the hearing, you can just say at the hearing, things have been taken care of.
Yep.
And we're moving on. And then the commission decides not to take any action at the conclusion of the hearing. So,
So our meeting dates for November are the 7th and the 21st.
I think that if we set something for the 21st,
Gives them
put that 3 months out, and there's action, then we can cancel it, or we can come to the hearing and say there's no need to have this hearing.
Mr. Bowl, do you think that's fair?
I think that's very fair. Thank you. Yeah, you're right. It'll help me quite a few.
Need something to help motivate everybody.
Well, then I will make a motion to approve Resolution 1593 with the amended date of November 21st.
I'll second.
I have a second by Commissioner Redlin. Any other further discussion? Roll, please.
Howard,
Yes.
Redmond,
Yes.
Myers, Showalter,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
And thank you for your efforts, Mr. Gold.
Okay, let's move on to 6 discussion items, starting with A, transportation van update. Okay,
Well, a short time ago, we had our driver with the transportation van had an accident in the parking lot of Walmart. It damaged the van pretty severely, and it'll be, I don't know if it's been reviewed as yet. We haven't received an estimate as yet, and haven't received a, what do you call that? Review by the insurance regarding it as yet, so. Quote? Right. We don't know as yet whether it'll be totaled or not. We think it will be, but it is out of commission. And Mary has done a good job contacting other communities and coming up with a possibility as far as using a van from another community for a short time. Now, the transportation van is funded 80% by a grant through KDOT, so then KDOT ends up with quite a bit of say about how we work this out. So we're basically have to get authorization from KDOT in order to do that, and also the van that's received has to be certified by KDOT as well as some other criteria that I'm not remembering right at the current time. But after contacting a couple different places, Thomas County has an extra van that they'll allow the city to operate upon KDOT approval. They have the information, the vehicle information. We've asked for and actually KDOT asked, and then we've asked Thomas County for a memorandum of understanding between the city and Thomas County for operations. This would basically be for a short-term temporary replacement of the transportation van. And, but I think and it will cost us a little bit. City assurance allows us a rental rate of so much in order to cover that. But, what we are going to be asking for from the commission tonight is to staff to pursue that memorandum of understanding and allow that to be drafted and then be signed by the mayor for that memorandum of understanding, so then we can move forward with getting a transportation van back in the community, because we do have quite a few members in the community that depend on that transportation van to go to medical appointments, to go to Walmart, just for needed grocery shopping and other things. So, and obviously while the transportation was doing those things, that's when the accident occurred. So we're trying to get something back in operation, and that's what we'd like to, in the short term. It's basically for 30 days. There's a little bit more that can be added on to that, and then we'll have to figure out some other things as far as how extended we're going to need to keep doing something like that. So this is basically an interim measure, but we think it's the best measure at this time. Do you have anything to add, Mary?
If it is totaled, we might be in a really bad position, because when I called KDOT, the people who ordered vans last year are still waiting on their new vans. So if it is totaled, I don't know what we're gonna do. Because people call every day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even though they know it's down, they call just to make sure it's not back. So that is a big concern of mine.
I wonder if there might be a used option that we could look into in the short term,
Yeah, everything we operate, we have to go through them. It has to be inspected by their inspector.
Mhm.
I mean, it has to be approved through their program. so we can't, because I was actually looking at going and seeing if we could just rent a van. And no, we cannot, I was told, so.
The other part that gets difficult is the ADA accessibility. There's only certain vehicles that have that, and then there's special considerations on what's actually built within the van. You know, some will say they're ADA accessible when it's really not as much as KDOT requires according to this program, so.
Well, hopefully a solution comes up sooner rather than later. In the meantime, I think it's a good idea to pursue our current option, and, you know, and I appreciate the city of Colby allowing us the opportunity to use their extra van that they have. Because like you said, it is a very much needed thing in the community, and a lot of people do use that on a daily basis to help get through their day-to-day functions.
What does that grant reimburse us for? Is that for the salary of the driver and the fuel?
All expenses, salaries, I mean, everything. So it's 80%, and if we have capital outlay or anything like that, they'll be 80%.
So theoretically, if we wanted to spend the money, we could operate our own service until we got a van and not have to meet the KDOT specifications for the vehicle? If we were gonna cover the cost of the salary and the vehicle and all that?
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Grant.
I think that might be a space to look into that grant, an option.
And I think that might be an option we might more strongly consider in the future. But for this initial part, as we're trying to find a solution, this will be a solution that allows us to keep operating under the grant conditions. There may come a time if the van is totaled and we end up not being able to replace it very easily. There may come a time where we'll have that type of decision to give to the commission. But at this point, I think we're not quite there yet. Or at least staff's not quite there yet.
Any other thoughts?
I'm comfortable with asking Colby and doing that way for the time being. And I thank Colby for that opportunity to rent their van
And it's actually from Thomas County, correct, Mary?
for Thomas County, yes.
Every other county operates the same brand except for
Brooke, any thoughts?
Great.
No, I think it's a good idea.
So the consensus is to go ahead and move forward with,
The memorandum of understanding, and then when we have that actual memorandum of understanding, what we have the commission's consensus tonight. If we end up with an opportunity to have the actual formal memorandum of understanding before you, we'll take that opportunity to have a motion in a second and give you the actual copy of it. But we have commission consensus to move forward and get that done as soon as we can.
okay. Let's move on to B then, wastewater treatment plant repairs.
Go ahead.
Yes, please. Yeah. Yep.
Sure.
Thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Now we woke the youngster up.
Get a sign out back that says you can leave anytime you want.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you. Wastewater treatment plant repairs. Kent? Neil?
Neil?
We're full of good news tonight, I'm sure. Well, we ended up with a major situation, and Neil can probably speak better to it when he can fill in what I miss here. But we had a major issue with the motor and equipment that runs the skimmer arm at the wastewater treatment plant. And the skimmer arm is, just like it describes, is skims the top of the wastewater as it enters the clarifier. See, I'll say the wrong name. And the skimmer arm provides a critical action in the treatment process. So it's not something we can just skip over or kind of jimmy rig until we can make it work again. And it's ended up in a situation where it just basically does not move at all. And it's basically supposed to circulate around the clarifier once every, how many hours?
Every couple hours.
Every couple hours.
It should make a revolution. And we're figuring out, we've had to contact the state, get a bypass permit, where we're bypassing everything that comes into the headworks directly to the pond without going through that process. So we have hired Johnson Service Company that usually does our cleaning for our sewer system. We have hired them to drain the system. We've drained about as much of the system as we can to this point, and they're trying to get the rest of the sludge and the other stuff that's in our plant out so we can figure out where the problem is. And by the looks of what we've seen today is, by the plans, it shows, if I get this wrong, shows like a drag, one going each direction off the center, and there's a cable going to one and cable going to the other. Well, from what I've seen this evening, is the cables are facing in the same direction. So we have either lost one complete arm, or it has actually come loose, and that's what's stopping the other one, or whatever. But now we can see the down pipe that runs all of that is twisted and bent really bad. So what it's going to take to fix that issue, I don't know yet. But the skimmer arm, when we did realize that there was a problem, the skimmer arm fell off of the track that it runs on. So I was thinking, something got out of whack. Put it back on, started it up again. The wastewater operator called and said the skimmer arm is no longer moving again. So we go out there, and there's 4 bolts in the flange in the center. All 4 bolts were snapped. We put bolts back in it, hooked the motor back up, and fired everything up, and that's when we figured out that there was something major. And we've just been, Johnson Service Company has been here since Wednesday mid-morning, early afternoon of last week to clean out the plant. We've been on a bypass order since Monday, is when we started bypassing and trying to drain off all of the clear water that we could take off. So we're not paying Johnson Service Company to move clear water. If they can move the sludge and all of the stuff that's causing us problems, that will be kind of their aspect of this project. But it's turning into quite a project.
Always something, right?
Always something. It just seems like the wastewater plant has been kind of a discussion item for a while. And I will be so glad when it's not a discussion item anymore.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's extra frustrating for you just because, a lot of progress has been made.
Yeah, and now we're going backwards.
And now
after we
we're
finally
kinda-
start figuring out the direction we need to go, and now we had a catastrophic failure out there, and now we are so far backwards. Because to get this plant back in order is going to be a process. And we have a guy from KRWA that will be here tomorrow afternoon to kind of oversee what he thinks we need to do, if there's any updates that are possible that would make this fix an easy fix, or kind of what he sees. And we're just trying to move forward at this point. We're out there every day, most of the day, trying to make progress. Johnson Service Company was going to actually send 2 more people out to help the 2 that are here. And I kind of volunteered myself and somebody else to get down in the pit and scoop or whatever we need to do to kind of save some cost to us, so they don't send 2 more people out and we have a greater cost than what we need. So that's kind of where we're at right now on trying to figure out what's broke, and I think we're going to get Rod Butts to maybe do some welding or fabricating of some sort to try and keep something local, to that way we're not ordering parts from Smith and Lovelace and they're 3 months out on parts. If he can fabricate something that will keep us going for a long time, I don't want it just thrown together. I want something that's going to last for years to come, so we don't have this, because anytime that there's a failure down in the bottom, you have to drain that whole thing. And we were just starting to get into the realms of being on good terms with KDHE. Now we're kind of, they're watching again. So we're trying to do whatever we can to move forward.
Did you send pictures to Josh to be able to?
No, I did not, but I do have them if you can.
Well, I don't think he's that.
Yeah.
Maybe he will be.
Or if you just want to email them to us later, we can take a look, but.
The other thing that's come up in the midst of this is that the top half of the clarifier, where the skimmer iron runs around, is a set of shielding. I don't think, if you remember that from when you're out there, that about every 10 years it should be sandblasted and painted. But you have to empty the clarifier in order to do that. It wasn't done 10 years ago. It's probably been 20 or 30 since it's been done. The plant itself is 51 years old because it was built in 1971. So, or at least that's what Neil stated earlier today in our conversation. So, it's of the age where, something like this could happen, obviously, with these situations. But as far as the maintenance, one additional maintenance thing, but it's actually an expensive maintenance thing in order to sandblast and paint, because most companies don't like to do that type of work, working in the wastewater treatment plant. So, but it helps with the long-term durability of that, the steel and the other mechanisms that are around the exterior, and it's basically the top half of that container. Bottom half is concrete. So that top half on a regular basis, I know it's 10 years, doesn't seem regular, but on an every once in a while basis should be done. And it helps preserve it so that it doesn't have even more of a failure as you come on. The problem is when we got a quote from one company, Neil had contacted 4 different entities, was able to, and then the timing saying that, well, we're going to be down and it'll be within the next month or so to be able to do this, if not sooner. What would be your quote? The quote we received back was much more than what we expected. So we're trying to, 6 figures. And well into 6 figures.
Oh.
So we were not pleased with that result, and we're still prepared for that. We're investigating alternatives. Now, we do have in discussions with our chief financial officer, Mary, and with others, the ARPA money that could be used for that type of project. And whether it's from that or we have to investigate. I think there might be another company, but the timing might not be right, and we might end up having to go through a second time draining it, which in some ways might not be the most horrible thing if it's a significant cost savings. But what he shows, go back to the previous picture there, Josh. You can see that around the outside where it's kind of greenish, pale greenish, that's the area that would be sandblasted and painted. And it's obviously not a paint like you'll use.
It just goes to about here on that. And then these arms and this whole thing be painted in this pipe.
Is that completely empty yet in this
No.
picture? Okay.
We still got about a foot of sludge left. And on the next picture, I just caught a glimpse of it.
Go ahead, Josh, to the next one. There you go.
Nope, can't see it. Because over here's where those wires are coming out, and I don't see them anywhere. And that is the outside, that's where our waste is. And these aren't too bad, but we've got sludge built up in the corner here that they're gonna have to get out. And we pumped all the water out of there that we possibly can right now. So they'll have to do the cleaning on this, and then get the rest of that clear water out of there. And then these would be sandblasted and painted, this pipe would be sandblasted and painted. But these are all valves to go to the holding tank, or, the holding tank that we haul off, is what these are. And we open those, and we open the water out of there. So whether there's something plugging them off or what, we don't know right now.
So we are looking at alternatives, and what, we don't really have anything to present to you tonight, but we may ask, especially since we have 3 weeks till the next commission meeting, we may ask for a short special meeting just regarding that topic to present a plan of action of what staff would like to get done with this and how to rectify this. We're kind of, we're moving forward with a couple parts of it regarding, he's setting up the person that could weld certain things and be able to fix the actual thing. But this additional cost regarding sandblasting and painting is kind of throwing us through a loop, and we need some additional alternatives, or to be absolutely sure that's what we want to do or recommend that we do. Because you can see that container around the outside, if it would completely fall apart, then we'll start talking with EVH and KDHE with a lot more significant reconstruction and repairs. So that's what, even though it sounds big regarding a cost, a new plan is a much bigger cost. And I don't want to be alarmist, but we haven't been able to come to a go-to alternative as yet.
But if you look at this ledge along here, most of that paint along that edge is gone, not that far down on all of that. And then on the outside of, the outside of this part over here, we looked at that when we had our tour, where some of those spots, there were some spots that were about that big around that were completely no paint, and the metal is actually deteriorating out there. That's kind of what we're looking at, so it doesn't get any deeper into it, where we can maybe change little spots rather than big spots on the metal. Because they're afraid that on some of this stuff, that when they start sandblasting, they'll blow clear through it.
So I hope this gives you at least an idea of the gravity of the problem and the extent of the problem that we're trying to provide a solution to right now.
Thank you for stepping up and grabbing a shovel and and save money where we can, and I'm sure that was not a pleasant job, so thank you for that.
We'll do it every day until we can get this done and get everything back in order and get back to running order and,
Thank you for that.
yep, anytime. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I think, I assume everybody else will be open to coming in for a special meeting if we need to discuss our options once we get a better idea of exactly what we're looking at to do.
Like Neil said, we have our theories. There's a whole pile of you-know-what, so.
Yeah.
We gotta get through before we get full answers.
They haven't found the horse at the bottom of it yet, so, as the old joke said.
Getting close.
We found some things, but nothing like that.
All right, let's move on to C-106 North Caldwell Building Official Report. Jeff?
Hello again. I'll kind of give you a rundown on this. I've seen this property for quite a while. Kind of started back in 2017. Did some research on it. Utilities were shut off back in November 6th of 2017. Then June 25th, 2019, the former city manager, Andrew, got a letter from USDA Rural Development. They are the mortgagee on the above property, the 106 North Caldwell. And as it states, as you may be aware, is in very poor condition. It is uninhabitable due to the low value and the high cost to bring the property to decent, safe, sanitary condition. Our agency has decided to relinquish our interest in the property. We are releasing the real estate mortgage effective today. The release has been mailed to the Sherman County Register of Deeds to be filed on record, and that was back in June 25th of 2019, so it's been kind of an ongoing deal.
Released to who specifically?
What's that?
Released to who?
Released to who? To the owner. It didn't state, so,
Okay.
yeah, I tried to get, they couldn't even come up with it at the courthouse. They were looking, and so, they didn't even have that down as North Caldwell. They had a 106 Caldwell, so we're having some difficult times on that. And then back in, let's see, it'd be April 29th of 2020, Mr. Dakota Rubio, he presented a statement from the enforcing officer to try and get the process going on the said property. Did a title search and not sure where it went, couldn't come across any other paperwork. So it was presented to a commission prior, and it's like I said, that's kind of where it was stopped. So anyway, I started the process July 18th. Made a phone call, finally located the gentleman, Mr. Barnhart. He's actually in a rest care facility in Wilson. So I called down there and I talked to the caretaker. And the caretaker informed me that Mr. Barnhart's been getting letters about the yard and vehicles and the house for years, and that he doesn't own the property anymore. So that's where we kind of left off on that. So I went ahead and did a title search, and of course it came up to under his name and his mom's name, and she has passed away since then. So I went and took some photos, and kind of gave those to Josh if he wants to kind of go through them, any questions with it. I'm sure everybody's aware of the property. So it is getting pretty bad. The window's been broke out. Oh, probably in the last 3 months, somebody has gotten in and did more to it, so. I did have Scott go in, contract mower, and they did get the yard cleaned up as far as the mowing anyway, so didn't look quite as jungly. And the front door is wide open. Of course, the windows are several, I think 3 windows broke out on it. Definitely quite a few mice in there. That's all of them. I did receive several complaints probably over the last, since we did get the yard mowed, about the property, about it needs to be taken care of. I said, yeah, it's in the process. So kind of bringing this to you, you guys as the commission, probably be coming up with a hearing for it, which I'm sure that nobody will be here for it as far as owners, but we'll see if anybody's interested in really wanting to purchase it, take care of it. So, any questions?
No, so it definitely, something needs to be done with it
Yeah.
at this point, so.
Yeah, there's several dead trees in there, and vehicles. And
How many years of taxes, back taxes on it?
I'm gonna say 2000. Taxes for the years 2018, 19, 20, and 21 are due and delinquent, so. And of course, I'm sure this year's coming up, so. And they did get, somehow they did get the payment for the city bill, the last city bill, just in June 8th of this year. Not sure how that came about, but somehow it did get paid.
Who paid it?
No idea. When I was just trying to find out when utilities were shut off, we found out it had gotten paid somehow. Got sent to collections, and somehow it did get paid.
Yeah.
Oh,
So what other steps need to be done before we can set that one for hearing?
I don't know if we can go a quicker way. There are, if it's life safety hazard, we can go a quicker way. We can look into that for the next meeting, maybe two options, set it for hearing, or if there's a quicker route to get to it. Because it is, like I said, with being open and a lot of stuff around there, even trash in the yard. I can sure check into that.
May ask the attorney if we can board up the house the way it is current. I don't know if we're allowed, have authority to do that.
Okay,
Yeah, I guess just bring us our options next meeting.
will do, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Justin.
Okay. While you're standing there, the next item is the 2018 International Mechanical Code.
Just kind of bringing this to you guys' attention. Building board and I've gone through, and they want ready to move forward with it and present it to you guys for some approval, but just bringing in the minor changes that they've had in it. All of it's kind of like what we did with our plumbing. There's a schedule in there for fees, for our permit fees and so forth. They just suggest keeping that the same as our current one, which is the same as electrical and plumbing. Then we have another section, 106.5.3, fee refund. They want to omit that. They say our fees are minimal, so they just want to go ahead and just, same thing we did with the plumbing, just omit that section. Another one is 108.4, violation penalties. They're just suggesting keep our current penalties and fees. The 108.5, stop work order penalties, same thing, keep up, we've currently got, no changes in that. The only thing they really requested was the change, which it's different in this code book versus our, the Uniform Mechanical Code. Let's see, Mechanical Code reads as follows: the routing and length of flexible duct and number of bends and number of degrees of each bend and the amount of sag shall be allowed to joints in series and affect sound due to the resistance, and the maximum length of the flexible duct to make connection shall be 6 foot. The new code, talking with the Cale, he's got the experience in it. The new codes, even a lot of the other areas, there is no set amount anymore. The amount of technology and advancement they've come in with the new units, they're able to push the air better and farther, and they can adjust the computers in them and make it work, so. And according to the new code book, 18, there isn't any set amount of feet. It's unlimited, so. Other than that, that was all the changes they really requested, so. You guys' permission, we, move forward with that. It's kind of where we're going with it. If you have any changes or any other questions in it, or you'd like to look through the book, for the next meeting, I can sure give it to you and let you read through it.
Okay, any other thoughts or comments? Guys have been doing a great job so far. Let's keep on going.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to E, Phillips Park Sprinkler System.
I'll
Yeah,
probably
Danny,
introduce it
come
and
on up.
let Danny finish up, so.
Okay.
The irrigation system at Phillips Park was identified as having several deficiencies. In Danny's pursuit of finding solutions to that, came up and we basically had several discussions with a supplier, and that has helped them out quite a bit. And they ended up designing a system that involved 10 zones instead of just 2. And that's quite a difference. And obviously, the equivalent number of sprinkler heads per zone involved with that. So with this type of project, it should help out Phillips Park quite a bit as far as the coverage, because I know that's been a concern that's been raised by both the community and some members of the community to commission members, because commission members said it when I first got here. So Danny's moving forward with this, and he ended up contacting several, couple local vendors and then a vendor that was outside. And you might go through that part of it, Danny.
Yeah, basically, I've contacted a design company out of Colorado, and we've sat down and figured out our pressures and our volume of water. The system that currently over there, like I said, only has 2 stations, and it's feeding 39 heads with 2 stations. And our new system would be 10 stations and 68 heads. And it would be all commercial rotary type heads. And the system over there now is 1 inch pipe feeding 350 foot of the whole block of park. Our new system would be 2 inch coming off the meters, and halfway through the park would drop down to 1.5 inches. But I mean, it just needs redone from start to finish. Neil's going to work with me on changing out 1 meter, and but we're going to go from curb to curb, all from the meter all the way, with all new valves. Everything will be brand new, all new timer, all new wiring, about 4,000 feet of trenched in line. So it'll be a large project, but it's been needing to be done for 15, 20 years. And so to update the park and get it watering like it should be getting watered. So
I still just can't get over that we have 39 sprinkler heads running on 2 different.
yeah, on the north side we've got 16 heads on the north side, and it tries to keep up with it, but 1 inch line's only going to let so much water out.
Mm-hmm.
The other side's got 23, and it just can't keep up with that. That's why we have it ends up looking the way it is. I mean, we've tried stringing hose in there, trying to help it out, but we only do so much. And like I say, a lot of this stuff is commercial. I mean, once we get this project started, we will have to purchase some material. We'll be purchasing some material from local vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And but a lot of it's commercial material. That the system is all designed, everything fitting together. So we won't have any kind of mix match fittings, pipe, hose, any of that stuff. And some of the material I did have some material left over, some wire and stuff from some previous projects. We're going to be able to save some money from some of the material that I do have left over from other jobs too. So.
And it'll probably save some time and money on your labor going over moving sprinklers to try to catch up with some of the other spots and probably some water
The
too.
biggest cost will be, just like say, the water, and number two, the weeds and the herbicide. Where the water's not hitting, the weeds come in, so it takes extra herbicide, extra man hours to spray that. So, anybody have any questions on the system or anything?
What time frame are you thinking about doing this project?
Well, as soon as you give me the okay, I've talked to the supplier, and he's personally, we did have a meeting. I talked to the supplier, and the gentleman that worked with me, he actually did personally come out, and we spent a Friday afternoon over there looking at everything, going over his plans and material list and everything. But as soon as you guys give me the okay and I give him the okay, he's going to deliver it, and then once I kind of get caught up on closure of the pool and kind of get I've got a new employee that started today, so September's our aerating and fertilizing month, but I'll get those guys lined out of that, and then I will, Dustin's gonna trench in the lines for me, so I'll probably do it in sections. I'll have him trench me in a couple 100 feet, and I'll put that together, and I'll probably just work on it in stages, but, yeah, I mean, as soon as we get the material, probably immediately. And I'll do the first half. It's we've got 2 water meters over, so I'll do the first half, and then I can get that going again, and I'll start on the second half. But my goal is to have it done before the snow flies. So,
Well, I mean, I think it'll be good. It'll be a great project.
so,
It'll
big
make
project.
make the park look even better.
And like I say, out of the 10, if we had a blank canvas, it would go a lot faster and a lot easier, but now we're putting a system in the existing park. Out of the 10 valves, or 10 stations, 5 of them are clear and 5 of them are going to have to go around playgrounds, shelters, light poles, which be a little more, but
Mhm.
we'll get it.
And so the bid that you got from the company was a little over 10,000, right? 10,302, I think is what I see.
Plus shipping.
Delivery charge.
And that'll fall, as far as, purchasing policy goes, that'll fall within the guidelines of Kent making the decision on that one, it's between 5 and 15,000. He gets to final okay on that one, so we won't need our official approval other than just our support.
But we wanted to share this with the commission where this large purchase is coming from. And also that the large purchase is being funded through special parks, which is the local alcohol tax that comes back to us can only be used in the parks, or that portion of the alcohol tax can only be used in the parks. And this is an appropriate project, and it's also something to inform the public. This is what we're going to be doing over in this park to improve Phillips Park, because it always seems to be on the lower end of all the parks of what gets addressed. So,
And it is amazing how much the school district uses that park, and there's a lot of tourists that pull off the highway that, use that park.
they actually use it because it's the first one off the highway, where you think they might go to, Stever or Chambers or Gulick, but they end up going to Phillips. So,
Anything else?
Good, let's get it done.
Okay,
All right, thank you, Danny.
all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to F, identifying joint meeting dates with the county and Canarado regarding the sales tax ballot issue. Kent?
this is the sales tax ballot issue regarding approving, the county would put it on the ballot, but the city of Goodland and Canarado would be supporting actors on that ballot issue. The county did put a ballot issue on last fall. It didn't pass, and this is a ballot issue that the 3 entities have discussed, and they want to have the final version from the bond attorney that would be presented to the three entities at a joint meeting, and then if it's good to go, then the county would go ahead and take their action to actually place it on the ballot for November. And this would actually be just for a continuation of the current 1 cent sales tax that's used for roads. And then certain percentages within that, 45% would be applied to the city, 5% to Canarado, and the other half to the county. And the dedicated project that we had talked about is to have, A Street be the dedicated project for that. But the actual language may allow for, it's definitely for roads, so.
Was that the right split? I don't think that was the right split.
It may not have been if I said the incorrect figures, then the fault is mine,
But
so.
I don't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think that was it, but.
The previous one was 47% and 52%, 47 point something, and 52.3, I believe. But with Canarado being involved, there was slightly different than the previous ballot issues.
Well, maybe it is the right one and I'm just remembering it incorrectly. I don't know.
But they were looking at some dates. The county commission discussed it this morning. They did state that as far as the next couple weeks, or basically till the end of the month, that the 18th, the 25th, and 26th, which is basically the next 2 Thursdays in a week from Friday, that they would not be available. But any other date, they would be available. And the reason why it's discussed as far as between now and the end of the month, or basically between now and Labor Day, is the timing requirements in order to put it on the ballot is such that it has to be done in September by the county. And I don't know which date is the deadline date for the county. So a decision whether to put it on the ballot needs to be made within the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm always a fan of Monday night meetings. Like, next Monday will be the 22nd or the Monday after the 29th. Either one of those would work fine for me.
29th works better for me. Because I won't be in town the 22nd.
Fair enough.
Either is good for me.
Yeah, it's fine. Whatever we decide, we'll make either work.
29th would be it. You want to reach out and see if 29th would be okay?
Sure.
And while we're on that, I don't know if with the count with Canarado there would be the appropriate time, but I do know that I wish to discuss the dog contract with the county, that our joint contract with them.
Okay.
I was approached about having that looked at, maybe if they'd be willing to address that during that meeting as well.
Sure.
To at least look it over and see if we want to make any kind of changes to it.
Okay.
Could we get a copy of that contract as well? That's not a document that I've seen before. I'd like to look it over before the meeting.
Sure.
All right, so I think we should be good there. Let's move on to reports then,
Oh, excuse me.
starting with our city manager, Kent.
The month end is included in your packets, as well as the monthly activity report from the police. Police have been busy over the last month. Also had a Word document of additional things that are occurring right now. Chief, did you want to state anything regarding the two officers that are at their various trainings right now? The academy and.
If you'd like me to.
If you could. If you could.
Yes, you will.
If that's how you wish to take it.
So,
the newest officer, Marvin Raddick, he started the academy on the 8th, and so he's been there a couple of weeks now, and he seems to be settling in and getting into the groove of that. We also, Officer Zach Mater is in the Springs right now with the dog, doing the patrol training. He's been there since the 1st, and he should, they said 4 to 6 weeks, so he's a little over halfway finished, and I've kept it pretty much contact with him every couple of few days, and says everything's going great with the dog, and they're doing a lot of work, so can't wait for both of them to get back. It has been busy, but no, the dog thing is going the way I planned, or I was hoping it would go, with his obedience and all that mixed in with the bite work and stuff like that. So it's going good for both of them. So,
Good.
Any questions or anything about what's going on?
I think so. Thank you, Frank.
Thank you.
Airport runway project update. I'm sure Andrew can assist in that.
I think last meeting, we were at a standstill. They had a concrete plant breakdown. Last week, they were back up and running again. Currently, they're planning on pouring concrete tomorrow and Wednesday. The concrete pour Wednesday will actually finish out all the concrete on the runway. They will be somewhere in the realm of 75-80% done on the turnaround pad, and then they'll finish it up after they do the runway. So this week's mostly just concrete. Next week, it's going to get really busy. We're planning on every bit of 3 contractors, if not 4, being on site to do fencing, lighting, more dirt work that has to be done on the back side of the extension that we've got there. So the change order that you guys approved contingent upon FAA approval last meeting, right? That was last meeting. Is still in the hands of the FAA with internal discussions between FAA and FAA. The only bad part about that is it just extends our completion date further out. So that material had quite a lead time on it. The longer we have to wait for their full approval, the longer we have to wait to actually get that installed. So as soon as we get an update on that, we'll obviously let city staff know. So.
That's about it. They're looking.
Yep, everything else has been, all the work's been looking good, and Mark and Brian out at our office are enjoying getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go out for concrete pours, so. They tell me that the sunrise is beautiful, so.
Take their word for it, right?
Yep.
Majority of the airport work will be done in about 3 weeks. And then there'll be a break, basically. They'll get the lighting done and some striping and sealing done. And then it'll be open up shortly after that for visual flight rules. And then we'll have to wait until the equipment comes in for the papping. And that could be quite an extended time, so. That we sit alone. The next item is the KDOT cost share grant application. Probably have something available as far as an estimate and then a resolution that would support a grant application at the next meeting. I think that's
Correct. So KDOT has a webinar on Thursday that I'm going to sit in on.
just to make sure there's not any specific terminology we might need to hit on before we turn in an application that's going to help us out, or maybe something else that they're looking at this go round. So if you guys saw the guys last week, they were punching. They punched close to 30 holes in Caldwell, just verifying some depths on asphalt. So we'll have everything ready to go, but just really, since it's not due till September 15th, they were going to have this webinar. I wanted to hold off in case we wanted to change something. So, but yeah, next meeting we'll plan on having a resolution and then also the application to be able to show you guys.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Andrew.
Thanks, Andrew.
And the only other additional thing I think we'll add is Kenton informed me that the fog seal is still unsure at this point as far as the exact day that they'll be coming. It's set tentatively for a week from Friday. If that's the case, there will be some communication in the newspaper at the beginning of next week to let people know as far as what things need to happen as far as that occurs. And Kenton, if you can describe a couple areas that might be difficult as far as it occurs.
Well, basically, we have a Steak and Shake. It's got to operate, so we'll probably end up shooting an entrance in half the road through Steak and Shake. That way, the traffic can still get in there for the morning area. That's probably what we're going to hit first. And then we also have the Manor up on Kansas, which because the fog seal takes 2 to 4 hours to dry, we'll try and hit those two main areas. That way, we can start going around town doing the others and reopen. Hopefully that area is dry, then we can kind of paint the other portions of it. I guess not paint, but spray. It's kind of like paint. You're supposed to paint it black. So, but
The big broad
that fog
brush.
seal really helps lock in that rock. So, but you guys have any questions about it or anything? Everybody's kind of seen everything, how fog seal goes. So
Yeah.
there is the college up there that will be doing in front too, but 13th Street will be open clear through. So with 15th, so it shouldn't really detour any traffic for the college. So but that's it.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
And I just appreciate all of the employees and appreciate the commissioners that came out Friday as far as for that. We had a pretty good turnout. We ended up with some extra. We're taking care of that, but it worked out fairly well because of the combination of folks that volunteered. So appreciate that completely. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Anybody have any questions for our city manager? Oh, all right, thanks, Ken. Okay, we'll move on to commissioner reports. Start on my left down here with Commissioner Redland.
Yeah, I thought we had a great turnout for the barbecue. A lot of people showed up and partaked in everything that we had there. Partook, whatever that word is. Anyways, yeah, just thanks to everyone that showed up and had a hand in it. Mary, I didn't know she was going to make it through the night, but she had a hard seltzer at the end, and I think that kind of pushed her over the line. We are taking bets on who's going to grow their arm hair back first. It's either JJ, myself, or Frankie. So.
Is that it?
That's all.
Okay. Commissioner Howard.
It's basically the same thing. I'd like to thank all the people that came out to the citywide barbecue and all the people who helped put it on, the city employees and everybody that was involved. And I think it was a good time, and it got more people involved with the city people and the VOTEC students got involved in things that were together, and that goes to show that you can mesh with other age groups. So, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody.
Commissioner Showalter?
Well, it sounds like I missed a good barbecue. Sorry about that.
We signed you up for something else, so.
Perfect. Usually the way it goes. Thanks to Jaleesa for the work on the barbecue and the concert series and everything that went on this summer. I think the addition of that is, all the events that go on, the SCCD works on is a good addition to the quality of life in town. So that's really a difference maker. I think the only other thing I got was the college had requested that I look into or talk to Frankie at least about steps for potentially lowering the speed limit around campus. So I talked to Frankie, and I think he's going to do some research for me to kind of look into that as far as what we need to do to lower that and potentially put up some signs. So that was the only thing I had.
Okay, I don't really have much else to add. Again, thanks to everybody who helped out at the shindig on Friday night. It was a good time, and it was a hot day. It was a lot of hard work to get everything set up, I'm sure. So thank you all to staff and everybody else who helped volunteer throughout the night. But I think you had your...
I didn't request at the beginning, but if we could have an executive session for personnel for just a couple minutes.
Okay, and on that note, I will make a motion to move into executive session under KSA 75-4319B1 to discuss matters of non-elected personnel for a matter of 5 minutes. And I would like the commissioners, the city manager, and Jeff Dinkle to join us, please, if we could, starting at 6:43.
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Redland. All in favor?
Aye.
You were supposed to be 5 minutes and 30.
Let me know. We're good. All right, let's call this meeting back to order at 6:48. Is there any other further discussion? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Showalter, second by Commissioner Howard. All in favor say aye.
Aye. All third.
Thank you, everybody.